I am so excited today to introduce you to these amazing, amazing humans. We're going to have 5 guests. It's going to be a little crowded up in here. And good news, we're going to make this into 2 episodes because there's so much goodness we couldn't capture it all in one episode. We're going to talk about what it is like to be a senior in the final few weeks of school, what it is like to be an immigrant student, what it is like to be a student of color in a predominantly white high school, and the impact that that has on students. And we are just going to get into all of the beautiful, amazing hopes and dreams and wisdom and intuition and creativity that today's guests are going to be on our show. So I cannot wait for you to meet these 5 young women and learn more about them today on Belonging in Classrooms. All right, welcome back. Part 2 of the podcast with all of you beautiful people. I promised you that I would not forget the next question, which is, okay, I'm going to start with a story though. All right, so I remember when I was in college, I had this world history teacher, and he used to tell the things that happened and teach his lessons in such a way that it almost felt like he was telling us a story. Like he would find some human element of this whole part of history, and we would be hanging on the ends of our seats. I mean, can you imagine having a history class that was so entertaining that we were like, wait, don't stop at the end of history? He was that engaging of an educator. And he gave us this assignment that was that we had to do a newspaper from that time, from a time period, and pick stories about it and write. And it was, you know, for me, it was so much fun. I remember coming up with like want ads. You don't know what those are because you do things on Facebook Marketplace now, but that's different. But I remember working so hard on this paper for him because I ended up loving it. So as you're seniors and you're getting ready to be done, can you think of a project or an assignment or an experience in school that was such fun to learn?
I want to take the mic for this one. So
do it.
One of my favorite projects that I've done in school that I've loved doing was I was leading a iftar night at our school, and so that's one of my favorite nights that I had at Washburn High School. And so like basically me and like my peers right here came together to lead a night together about Ramadan, and then we taught like students who came into the building about what Ramadan was. And we had like a prayer there, and then we also like ate together, and we feasted together. So it was like a kind of like a community building to like bring people at Washburn together, to educate people together. And so that's one of my favorite projects that I've done at Washburn like a couple months ago. Yeah. And so I love the community engagement we had on there and the support that we had of like the whole community. And so that's one of my favorite projects I've done and participated in.
Thank you for sharing that. That's
You're
beautiful.
Mine doesn't sound so lame now.
No, it won't. It's gonna be great. Do it. Share it, Sarah.
No, it's not even a project. It's like it was mostly about like a teacher and like what he introduced to us. Even though it's like a normal thing, but basically 10th grade was like when he first introduced like a creative writing section for our class.
Yes.
And I've never done it before. I've never like wrote stories, like imaginary stories. But every week he would like give us like a theme and say like, oh, write this about like a certain theme or whatever. And I remember doing it every single night and not using like ChatGPT or anything like that.
Coming clean. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Being an actual writer. And I got good grades from it every single story. And he would always like give me like good comments about it. Yeah. And I feel like that opened up like a new like, because I love English already. Yeah. I love like English classes. But I feel like that just opened up a new chapter for me and like made me like experience a side that I never like thought I had like academically. Yeah. And like going into junior year, I took an IB class. It was my first IB class. And we were also doing creative writing. And I remember like being happy because I had experience from it already. Yeah. You know, I was confident in doing it instead of being like, oh, I can't do this. I need to use ChatGPT. You know? So it felt like he gave me like a bit of confidence in that area and in my writing. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Who was your 10th grading?
Mr. Rice.
Yeah. We did not do no creative writing in that
remember
class.
when we had to do creative writing and he gave us the themes and everything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else?
Go ahead. No. Okay, I have one.
Okay, tell it.
Go ahead.
No, you've been so quiet.
I forgot mine already. Okay, so it was 10th grade year, right? I had a class, and then there was this our teacher was like, oh, we're gonna do some kind of presentation, and I hate presentations. I'm like, this, no, I don't want to do it. It's like if I'm standing on top of the class, I mean, in front of class, I'm not gonna do it. Okay. But then turns out it was like, where do you see yourself 10 years from now, right? And then I'm like, 10 years from now, I actually wrote like a good presentation. Like, it was so good. I had my whole life planned out. Like, it sounded so good. When I stood right there, I was so confident. It was chef kiss. And then it was so good. And then after we did all of that, and then I came to Washburn, and then now it's senior year, and then everybody be like, oh, what do you want to do? Where do you want to end up? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, it was like, then I had more confidence. Like, I was like, you know, but then now I'm just like, I don't know.
It was more memorable.
Yeah.
To you back then.
Yeah.
You like the act of dreaming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then now that like you actually have to take actions to get through those steps, now that's kind of scary.
That's like,
it's a bit challenging.
That's like when you're watching the TikToks and you're like, I totally am gonna I'm gonna get plants. Yes, I'm gonna get a lot of plants, but it's time to get the plants. You're like,
yeah.
Okay, who else wants to go?
Okay, me, I have a couple, but I remember 7th grade year, we had a history project. It was a big one, and it was towards the end of the year. And I think our goal was, I don't remember exactly, but to research someone from back then. And then we had to write a whole poster board about it. And I remember spending at least 3 weeks on this, and I think I did amazing. I think I got an A+, and then I think there was like 3 posters shown in total, and I remember mine was part of it. I don't remember exactly, but I remember doing so good at it. And I remember learning about that one person, which I forgot about now. But I remember learning so much about it at that time that I was actually interested in being a history teacher.
Yeah.
But that was just 10th grade. But now I want to be something else. But it's just like I had a dream at that moment to have like a career because of this one project.
Wow. Yeah. That's profound. Do you want to share anything? No? No. Okay. Thanks so much for sharing that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what it is like to be a student of color in Minneapolis public schools.
Oh, it's hard.
Say more.
It's hard. As someone who takes like AP and IB classes, I tend to only be like one of the PLC students in my classes. And so like I tend to be quiet in the classes most likely. Yeah. Versus like classes where like I'm with the people that I know and like more comfortable with. And so like, I tend to like keep to myself when it comes to those classes. And I feel like the teachers will notice it. I feel like teachers know that like if you're putting the effort into the class, they'll be aware that like you're doing the work, but you just don't feel comfortable around the people that you're with. Yeah. And I feel like Washburn tried their best to like bring more diversity into their classroom. They're changing it this the upcoming year to like bring diversity into like AP and IB classes. Yeah. But honestly, I feel like with the system right now, like I don't mind like taking classes with like white students. I feel like they're very different. They try to be funny, but like it's not funny. But like I just sit there and just mind my own business most of the time and just work with the peers that I'm sitting next to and like who feel comfortable with me. But I feel like having more students who look like me will make like coming to class more engaging. Yeah. Like more accepting, you know.
Yeah.
Versus
I agree. Last year, junior year, I took all IB classes. That was my schedule. And I didn't have any of my friends with me. So I felt mostly left out because I had a different lunch schedule. And I had like mostly white students in my class. And basically what she said, like the teacher knows you're doing your work and they recognize you through your work, but they don't recognize you like in the classroom basically. Ooh.
Like you can't be
that's
yourself.
That's profound.
Yeah.
Wait, can you say that again?
You can't be yourself.
Why?
Because you're not around people that make you feel like you want to be yourself.
Oh. That's real.
So yeah, it's not uncomfortable, but it's just like it made me like drain going to class. Like I hit senioritis last year because of that. Because I just hated going to class because I just know that I was gonna be by myself. And any like group projects, like I'd feel like I don't know why, but I felt dumber. I don't know why. You did. Even though like we were all on the same level and we were all doing the same things, and I was also getting a good grade. I just felt dumber compared to the rest of them. Like I don't know if that makes sense, but it just felt like more left out. So I was just like mostly alone, and I didn't like going to class back then. So.
Do you think? Do you feel like there was another culture dominating it that you weren't tracking the same, and so that made you? Like what? Because I don't think you doubt yourself as a person. I don't think you doubt your intelligence. But like, what was that feeling? Was it white culture?
I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's because like they all like bonded together, whether or not like they knew each other beforehand or not. Because you can tell like the people going to that class like the first day of school, they didn't really not a lot of them knew each other, but they still bonded together very well. Because like they're either from like the same like neighborhood or like they've seen each other around beforehand. But I think like when I was in groups, I knew like exactly what was going on. I knew the curriculum, but I didn't like push myself. I didn't feel courage to push myself to like show like my intelligence in that classroom. Oof. So like when you're surrounded by people that you're not really familiar with, like your background, it kind of like discourages you to like actually participate.
That's really incredible. Thank you. Anybody else? We talked a little bit in episode 1 about that classroom discussion thing, and then some folks taking up air. Does that also happen? Do white students take up too much air?
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing sometimes because they'd be like, what's it called? Like they talked, right? And they'd be like, who else wants to talk? And then they kind of like point at you.
Yeah.
And so like, you're kind of like targeted to like speak because they took most of the screen time. You just know that like, oh, they're kind of aware that you haven't spoke yet.
Yeah.
And so they kind of like put the finger on you and be like, hey, Aisha, do you want to say anything else? And then I have to speak. And so like, it's kind of hard to like dominate conversations where like each person like bonded together about what to say. Yeah. That's why I kind of like starting the conversation when it comes to class discussions rather than like coming into the mix of
is that a strategy you've used as a student as the student of color in the class?
Yeah.
You use the strategy of like, I'll start and then lean back.
Yeah.
That's solid. I feel that. What do you wish white educators and white students understood that you don't think they do?
Wait, they understand?
What do you wish they understood that you don't think they do?
I don't know, like the inclusivity, I guess. But did I say that right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like they should at least be able to notice that there's someone just like, you know, different from the rest of us. I've seen like some of them who try. I've had a couple who tried to like include me into like side conversations and whatnot. But like the majority of them just like, I think most of the time they're just in their own little worlds. To the point where they can't really realize, like when the teacher tells you like, oh, choose your own groups and whatnot, like the people like most of the time they don't like, oh, do you want to be in our group and everything like that, you know? So it's kind of odd, and like I don't want to go up to the teacher and be like, can I work by myself?
And also,
but you would have if you could do that without it being awkward, you would.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And also like the students, you know how like when they come into the classroom and they don't know people, but they're confident enough to talk to the other white students, but they can't come and talk to us. Like, you know, some people have like anxiety and they don't really like go out of their way to speak to somebody, but the white people can do that with other white people, but they can't do that with us. So it's like, we know there's something off, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like if you all weren't friends before you came in, but you managed to make friends with everybody but me.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I can't be the problem.
Yeah.
Let's just be real about what this is about. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes they do like pity conversations. I don't know if it's because the teacher told them to, but sometimes you just be sitting alone and they try to pity you in some way and try to talk to you as in a way to include you. But the conversations usually doesn't lead that way. Yeah.
Does it feel inauthentic?
Yeah.
It's awkward.
Yeah, it's very awkward.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
And it feels, and you just want to be like, do you think I don't know?
It's very obnoxious sometimes.
What do you think white students could do differently in that moment? Do you think they have their own inner work to do and it's not about you? Or like, do you think there is something they could do to make you feel more comfortable?
Leave me alone.
Okay.
No.
Fair. Honestly,
I feel like, back to what I said earlier, I feel like the way they can go up to people and say, oh, like, do you want to do this with me? Or do you want, I feel like if they did that with us, we would be comfortable in the classroom and we would feel comfortable to talk to them. And like, you know, we would feel like we would fit in.
Yeah.
But they don't go out of their way to do that with us. So it's like, do we really want to be here right now?
Oh yeah, because it's like if you're kind of forcing yourself to include me, then I don't really want to be included because it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Like the group discussion thing that she was talking about.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the teacher's like, "Oh, if you've talked enough, feel free to like include people who haven't talked." And it's always one of us, and there's always like, "Sarah, do you want to talk?" No, not anymore. Like you pointing me out in front of the class, I don't really want to talk anymore. Like I feel like if you're not gonna be authentic and if you don't want to actually include me, if you're forcing yourself to include me, I don't want to be included.
Okay, this is reminding me of a conversation. So that I think I wonder if the picture will give you like, I like word pictures. So we were setting up a PTA, And my kids went to Lindale, so it was a pretty Somali heavy school. Yeah. And I remember one of the moms saying, you know, like there were like some white parents who were like, why don't parents of color come to this or whatever? And they said, don't make the table, set the table, prepare the rules for the table, and then invite us to your table. Wow. We want to be there to pick the table at the beginning. Does that how that feel?
Yes.
So it's like, I'm not your afterthought. Like if I'm not a part of the whole process, don't invite me at the 11th hour just so you can feel better about having invited me.
Yeah.
Right? And I've never forgotten that. So when I go to create something or if I'm going to like organize something, I think about that from the beginning. Like every single person who's going to be around that table has to have a say in the table. Right. Otherwise it's not authentic.
Maybe they just don't know it. Cause like
I do think people don't know. I do.
Yeah, because like we're all in class, right? And maybe we're just having conversation, and you see somebody sitting there, you think that they want to be left alone, let them be, you know? Yeah. Maybe it's kind of like that. So they want to think other than they're just choosing their kind to talk to them. Yeah, like that type of vibe.
I mean, I do think white kids could learn more cultural fluency that would help them, right? Like so the more you learn about other cultures, then the more comfort you have, then the more you understand things. And I do think in a pretty white dominant culture, typically speaking, like I don't have to learn other cultures if I don't want to, right? Like for my day-to-day life, I don't really need to. Now, the joy and the beauty and the love and the expansiveness of my life when I learn other cultures is a gift to me. But America doesn't need me to do that. Yeah.
I feel like adding to what Fatima said,
I
feel like most of the times we don't talk to each other. Like I wouldn't approach like a white student perhaps, or maybe they wouldn't approach me because we don't talk about the same topics or have the same humor. So if they make a joke, I'll just have to fake laugh. I feel like sometimes it's very rough out there. I wouldn't know what to say. Like sometimes like our conversation did not align because we don't know what we're talking about. Like their type of fun is not funny to me. So it could be that like our conversations don't roll. So it could be as simple as that.
But like in homework group, we do talk about. I think it's funny to talk about the differences. I think it's funny. Okay, one impression that this district, you're about to walk across the stage and end your time in Minneapolis Public Schools. I know. Do you have like one moment that was like an impression, either good or bad, that you want to share as a final thought?
As a final thought, I feel like one thing that we did well for the district this year was probably like doing the protest for Palestine. I feel like that made a big difference for us. Like speaking about like, because especially with the Muslim community at our school, like at Washburn, we tend to be quiet and don't really like participate in things. So like doing that like whole protest brought us all together as a whole district. Yeah. And like coming to walk out from Washburn High School and walking all the way to like, what was it? I forgot what it was.
The medal park thing.
Yeah, like the gold medal thing. Yeah, that brought us all to and seeing other Washburn students come join us it was a big impact to me, and like making like a difference in front of like Amy Close. Is that her name?
Amy
Klobuchar. Yeah, I feel like that's one of my favorite moments that we did for the district.
Because there's not much colored people at Washburn that's in Washburn. So.
Yeah, I feel like since we're a very small community at Washburn and it's like a predominantly white school, it's very hard to like stand up and like actually like say something and like try and be heard. So I feel like seeing all the other Minneapolis schools come together as well.
Oh yeah,
that was because other schools, like it depends on the area, other schools they have like more like students of color compared to us. So like we're very small compared to them. So I feel like being able to join them, being a part of something like that, and seeing your own people, and also like people who you don't really like, what's the word, like associate with. I feel like seeing all of us come together was like a really heartwarming, and I feel like it brought a real impact to the community.
Because some of white kids even joined us to walk out. That was like, we didn't think that many people were aware of the whole protesting. So seeing them, half of the white kids that we see in the halls there, I'm like, oh, that's really nice to see. It's like a nice sight.
Yeah, because it's like when we saw the kids that from our school too, we literally just pointed, we're like, oh, we didn't expect them to be there.
Oh, like, that's so amazing. That's so amazing. Any other like final thoughts, impressions?
Honestly, I don't know if Step Up it's the only program. Sure. I don't know if they only do in Minneapolis, But I feel like that was the best program as someone who was like in high school. I feel like usually jobs these days, they say no experience required, but they still want some experience. So Step Up, like starting from 9th grade, they helped me like get a job. And I feel like it was just nice to have experience with no experience. You know?
They kind of like,
Yeah.
I always think of like skill building as like a ladder or a ramp, right? So they helped remove some or helped you make those first couple steps.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I am so honored to get to know all of you better. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this thing called life, right? On finishing such a momentous thing. And I'll be your conscience because I'm old enough to be your mom's. No more skipping. Let's finish strong. Or just minimal skipping. Finish strong.
That's what I did this whole week.
Oh, good job. Yay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here so that we can make a TikTok before y'all have to leave.
Okay.
But thank you all so much for being on Belonging in Classrooms. I loved having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.